So I have severe sleep issues, and I mean severe, like I was brought right to the brink of death, not sleeping from several sleep issues, and nobody was able to diagnose any of what was happening. And I have Chiari malformation, a brain herniation. I've not had surgery. They don't want to do surgery. I'm having new symptoms that are scary. You know, let's say you're sleeping in a dark room and there's a gunshot. A gunshot rings out and you're just terrified beyond, you're paralyzed with fear, right? You're literally in mental and physical shock. The shock to your nervous system is just, you can't even move or speak, that kind of fear. Well, I'm having some new symptoms. So I have Chiari. I don't know if this is Chiari related. For years, it's uncomfortable to lay my head on a pillow. And these issues are just escalating. The trigeminal nerves hurt. My jaw is bothering me. My head hurts. Just going to bed is hell. And I'm so sleep deprived. And now I'm waking up. Now when I lay my head down, it's so hard to make videos because as I'm making videos, I'm thinking of the questions that people might ask. And it's so complicated. I don't know what all to include in the videos because it gets complicated and it confuses people. And I don't know. Like for years I wore CPAP and I had to stop wearing CPAP and because it was causing so many issues. It was causing trigeminal pain. It was moving my jaw back further and I think making my breathing difficulties worse. And it hurt my sinuses and it hurt my entire head. And I was 7 years compliant wearing CPAP and I just couldn't do it anymore. Like even at the risk of death, I could not do it anymore. So I made a homemade oral device, over-the-counter mandibular advancement device. Of course it's causing issues, I don't have a few $1,000s for a professional device. And when I'm laying down, nonstop, my ear is opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing. And it's just maddening. And I can feel my ear feels wet and it feels like fluid in the ears. And no, I did not just wash my hair or have a shower. And so my hearing is opening and closing and opening, like it's popping and unpopping and closing and unpopping and closing and unpopping. And it's just maddening. But now what's happened for a few days in a row, I wake up, I'm still laying in bed. I wake up and become conscious. I don't get out of bed. I just am awake and aware. And bang, there's a huge noise in my ear, like a gunshot or, like an elevator crashing to the ground or and I'm just paralyzed with fear. The reaction to your nervous system, right? You're just, it's no different than a gunshot going off in the bedroom. That level of just an unexpected huge noise. That's been happening for a few days. And I just lay there in shock. And so that's the new symptom. And I don't know if this is Chiari malformation. I know the mandibular device is messing with my jaw. It may be affecting my ear, but here, I want to tell you a story about my history of sleep. Okay, so like 15 years ago, I was sleeping 20 years ago, I was sleeping 5 hours a night. 15 years ago, I was sleeping 4 hours a night. No, even further back, 15 years ago, I was sleeping 3 hours a night. And then, okay, and here's the big thing. Like, how does this tie in with the hearing? And does this tie in with the Chiari malformation? So 15 years ago, I'm sleeping 3 hours a night. And then I experienced hearing loss. And I had significant hearing loss for about 2 years. During that time, I went from sleeping 3 hours a night just instantly. I went from sleeping 3 hours a night in distress because, you know, your life is gone when you're only sleeping 3 hours a night. I went from sleeping 3 hours a night to sleeping 16 hours a day. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. No, 18 hours a day. From 3 hours a night sleep to 18 hours of sleep a night. And during those for about a year, I slept 18 hours a night. And, well, I'm sleeping around the clock. And really restful sleep, lots of REM sleep, lots of dreaming. Throughout these years and prior, for decades, I was fighting hard to get diagnosed with sleep apnea. I didn't know I had sleep apnea. I didn't know what sleep apnea was. But I had sleep apnea for decades. I was fighting to get my sleep diagnosed. So I had sleep apnea for years. How did I sleep for 18 hours a day if I had sleep apnea? What was happening with the apnea during that time? How did I go from 3 hours a night to 18 hours a night? So I lost my hearing. I went from 3 hours a night to 18 hours a night. Then I went to bed one night. And also, you know, when you're sleeping 18 hours a day, your life is completely gone because you're in bed day and night. You're not socializing. When you finally get up, you're showering, you're getting groceries, you're making meals. You might watch an hour or two of TV. That's it. Your life is gone. You're no longer seeing people because you're sleeping day and night. And when you wake up, when I woke up, everyone's getting home from work and winding down. Like, my life was long gone. My life was gone. I had no life. And so hearing loss, and I'm sleeping 18 hours a day. I lost my hearing for about 2 years. Then I go to bed one night. I wake up. It feels like something has clicked or changed in my sinuses or in my brain. And boom, from that moment forward, I started sleeping only 1 or 2 hours a night. So I went from sleeping 3 hours a night for years to sleeping, and my hearing was back. So I went from hearing loss. I can't hear. I'm sleeping. No, let me start over again. I went from sleeping 3 hours a night in distress, in great distress, to hearing loss, all of a sudden hearing loss, then sleeping 18 hours a day with that hearing loss. Then I go to bed one night, I wake up, something changed in my head or my sinuses, my hearing's back and it's way too loud. And from that moment forward, I started sleeping only 1 or 2 hours a night. And now I'm in instant distress. I'm suicidal, because when you're sleeping only 1 or 2 hours every 24 hours, your mind, your brain, your nervous system, your body is in crisis. You are mentally and physically in crisis when you're sleeping only 1 or 2 hours a night. You're desperate, you're frantic. And then I stayed that way for 4.5 years until I started sleeping, 2 or 3 hours a night. Occasionally I'll get 4, or 5 hours a night, but I'm still in distress. So how can you go from sleeping 3 hours a night for years, then you lose your hearing, then you're sleeping 18 hours a day, then your hearing's back, then instantly you start sleeping 1 or 2 hours a day? How is that possible? Is that the Chiari malformation? Is that a serious ear and sinus issue? Is it the brain? Where was the sleep apnea, the distress, the severe insomnia? Where was that during the year that I slept 18 hours a day, 18 hours of satisfying sleep? Where was that? How was I sleeping 18 hours a day if I was in distress, fighting to get assessed for sleep apnea, and yet all of a sudden I'm sleeping 18 hours a day? And then eventually, when I was sleeping only 1 or 2 hours a night, fighting for my life, I eventually did get diagnosed with severe sleep apnea. Where did this sleep apnea go for that year? Why did I lose my hearing for 2 years? The doctors had no idea. So now I'm waking up to like a gunshot wound a gunshot noise in my ear. What's that all about? And my ear opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. Trigeminal nerves hurt. My trigeminal nerves have hurt in my head for 8 or 9 years. It hurts to lay down my head at night. It's impossible to sleep. I don't understand anything of what's going on. Can the ears and I've Googled this stuff. Like what is happening? Because I'm so sleep deprived. I mean, my entire life is gone. I've lost almost everything because of all these issues that and all these sleep issues were being misdiagnosed for years, right? Finally 40 years it took for me to figure out I have sleep apnea and force them to diagnose. I had respiratory depression for years, sleepwalking and sleep eating for years that was caused by medication. What is the ear thing, the hearing loss for 2 years, the loud, shocking noises, what is that, the brain? I don't know. I need to sleep to have some sort of life. I don't know. I'm thinking this is all brain related or Chiari related.